and welcome. You're watching our rolling coverage of the last phase of the Jammu and Kashmir elections. People are all, of course, out to cast their votes. Voting began at 7 a.m. this morning. And without wasting much time from the studios, I'd like to hop across to my colleagues who are joining us from the ground. I have Ashik Mir with us. Ashik, over to you. Take us through the people's pulse. What is it that the voters are telling you this morning? Let's go around and speak to some people who will be the ultimate decision makers as far as the Jammu and Kashmir assembly elections are concerned. Ashik, over to you.
Well, Devika, exactly. We are at the ground right now. It's polling day and it's a final stage of polling. Right now, we are at the frontier district of Kupwara, and as you can see, my VJ can show you in visuals how people have turned up in early morning to cast their vote. There are many people who are in queue and waiting to their turn, and we'll try to speak with some people who are in queue. My VJ can show you these visuals, how these people are waiting to cast their vote. There are many issues like basic facilities what we are witnessing. We can see some people who are in queue. मुझे बताइए, आप वोट डालने के लिए आए हैं, क्या क्या इश्यूज है आपके इलाके में? थोड़ा सा बात करें हमारे साथ. क्या क्या इश्यूज चित्त इन इलाके में थोड़ा सा विद वॉइस. देखिए, यहाँ पर कुछ लोगों से बात करने की हम कोशिश करेंगे, लेकिन लोग थोड़ा सा बात करने से हिचकिचा रहे हैं. आप मुझे बताइए, क्या क्या इश्यूज है आपके इलाके में जिसके लिए आज आप वोट डालने के लिए निकले हैं?
आज वोट डालने का
डेवलपमेंट के लिए. तो आज से पहले क्या डेवलपमेंट नहीं हुई?
आज तो नहीं.
अच्छा,
12 साल में नहीं, लंगेट में डेवलपमेंट नहीं है.
अच्छा, तो क्या क्या इश्यूज है और इसके अलावा डेवलपमेंट आप चाहते हैं? जिस हिसाब से आप रोड, पानी, सड़क, ये चीजें आप मांगते हैं?
ये मांगते हैं, रोड, पानी, अब ये डेवलपमेंट है वोट.
अच्छा, ये चीजें होनी चाहिए. एक और शख्स है जिनसे हम बात करें. मुझे बताइए, क्या क्या इश्यूज है आपके एरिया में, खासतौर पर आज 10 सालों के बाद यहाँ पर इलेक्शंस हुए, और इशू क्या क्या है ये बताइए.
सबसे पहले हमारा इशू यही है, हॉस्पिटल है यहाँ, डिस्ट्रिक्ट हॉस्पिटल है, लंगेट का है. यहाँ कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है. उधर गरीब भी आता है, अमीर भी आता है, लेकिन उधर कोई फैसिलिटी नहीं है. सबसे पहले उसके बाद जो रोड है, बिजली है. आज तो अक्टूबर चल रहा है, 25 अक्टूबर के बाद बस सिर्फ हमें मार्च तक 1 घंटा बिजली आएगा, उसके बाद नहीं आएगा.
अच्छा.
बस दिन को 1 ही घंटा आएगा बस, या 10-20 दिन बिजली रहेगा, 5-6 घंटे. उसके बाद हमें 1 घंटा बिजली देता है.
अच्छा,
हाँ, ये गवर्नमेंट हमें बस सिर्फ 1 घंटा देता है, 1500 फीस लेता है.
तो अब जिसको आप चुनने जा रहे हैं, आपको लगता है कि आपकी जितनी भी ये ग्रीवियंसेस है वो रिड्रेसल हो जाएगी, उनका हल हो जाएगा?
मतलब क्या मतलब?
जिसको आप चुनेंगे आपका काम करेगा वो?
इंशाल्लाह रहमान, हमारा जुनैद अहमद मीर साहब लंगेट का है, वो हमारा काम जरूर करेगा इंशाल्लाह.
अच्छा,
हाँ.
10 सालों के बाद ये इलेक्शन हो रहे हैं, कितनी खुशी है इस हवाले से?
हाँ, वो बहुत खुशी है, बहुत खुशी है. आज हमें लंगेट वालों को जरूर बदलाव लाना है.
अच्छा, बदलाव के लिए आप वोट डाल रहे हैं आज?
अगर हमारा तरक्की करेगा लंगेट कांस्टी का, जुनैद अहमद मीर ही उसको डेवलपमेंट करेगा.
डेवलपमेंट के लिए आप वोट डाल रहे हैं?
हर काम करेगा.
Devika, these are the basic issues what we are witnessing from the ground, that people are casting their vote to change the scenario of Jammu and Kashmir. How you can see the reactions of people. And we will
Yes,
try to
Ashik, I will. Yes, thank you, Ashik, for that ground pulse from Kupwara. I want to also quickly go across to my colleague Ajay Jandal, who's standing by. Ajay, let's quickly speak to some more voters, please.
And definitely when third phase is going on, and during the third phase of the polling, what people are expecting and what they have in their mind, that must be something which basically help them to develop their area. Let's speak to the people, those who are the real beneficiary of the abrogation of 370. These are the people of the Balmiki community, those who are not having right to basically cast their vote. And when it comes to after the abrogation of 370, they are definitely getting enough happiness. Let's speak to Gharu Bhatti, who is one of a leader of the Balmiki Samaj. Bhatti ji, क्या लगता है, इतने सालों के बाद जब वोट डालने का मौका मिला, एक अलग खुशी देख रहा हूँ आप लोगों के चेहरों पर, क्या क्या चीजें थी जो नहीं हो पाती थी, वो आज मौका मिला?
सबसे पहले तो ये धन्यवाद हमारी केंद्र सरकार को जाता है कि ये चीज़ें हो पाई, ये पॉसिबिलिटी आ सकी हमारे जीवन में कि 70 साल बाद आज जो वाल्मीकि समाज अपना वोट कास्ट करने जा रहा है। आज हमारी लाइन में देखो 80 प्लस भी हैं, 30 प्लस भी हैं, 40 भी और 50 प्लस भी हैं। तो ये सारी पीढ़ियाँ आज इकट्ठी हो गई हैं क्योंकि इसको एंजॉय करनी आई है, जो पहली बार अधिकार मिला है और बढ़ चढ़ के इस चीज़ का पर्व हमारे समाज मना रहा है।
होता क्या था जब आपके पास अधिकार नहीं थे? सिर्फ वोट डालना ही नहीं अधिकार था या और क्या क्या चीजें?
हमारे पास लैंड खरीदने का अधिकार नहीं था, हमारे पास अच्छी नौकरियों में जाने का अधिकार नहीं था, हमारे पास बिजनेस करने का अधिकार नहीं था, यानी कि टोटल ये चीज़ें हमसे दूर रखी गई थी। सिर्फ और सिर्फ सफाई कर्मचारी की जॉब करने के लिए मजबूर किया जाता था, हमें
मजबूर किया जाता था। आपकी उम्र कितनी है?
देख लो
1940 इनकी जो है डेट ऑफ बर्थ है, 1940 के जन्म आपका हुआ है। तब से कभी वोट नहीं डाला असेंबली इलेक्शन में?
नहीं,
अच्छा,
पहली चांस है।
पहला चांस है।
हाँ जी,
तो क्या कहेंगे अब, कैसा लग रहा है?
देखो ही माल को सुनेगा, सब सुनेगा।
ये बताइए कि जब आपके बच्चे अब काफी खुश होंगे क्योंकि पहले शायद उनको नौकरियां भी स्टेट गवर्नमेंट में नहीं मिलती थी।
नहीं मिलती थी, कुछ भी नहीं मिलता था जी। हमारा गुलामी की ज़िंदगी जी रहे थे, 70 साल में गुलामी की ज़िंदगी जी रहे थे। अब जब से केंद्र सरकार आई है, हमारी गुलामी की जंजीरें लत गई है। अब हम वोट पाने का अधिकार भी पहली बार मिला है और नौकरियों में मिलेगी सारा अधिकार, अब हमारे को केंद्र सरकार देगी।
नौकरियां भी मिली और बाकी अधिकार भी। मेरे साथ एक और यहाँ बेटी हैं जिसने अभी जो है एक हायर एजुकेशन में एडमिशन लिया है। पहले क्या होता था, कब आपने एडमिशन लिया?
ये एब्रोगेशन के बाद ही पॉसिबल हो पाया है कि मैं एडमिशन ले पाई हूँ। जैसे हमारे बच्चे जो हैं वो सोचते थे कि हम पढ़ लिख कर अच्छा कर पाएँ, अपने समाज के लिए, अपने देश के लिए अच्छा कर पाएँ, नेशन बिल्डिंग में योगदान दे सकें, लेकिन ऐसा जो है वो पॉसिबल नहीं हो पाया। जो बाकी सरकारें थी, एनसी होगी, कांग्रेस होगी, और भी वो इतनी बेशर्म हो चुकी थी कि वो हमें अधिकार देना ही नहीं चाहती थी। वो इतने बेशर्म होकर ये बात कहते थे।
बच्चों के दिल में क्या होता था तब?
तब बच्चों के दिल में यही था कि हम पढ़े लिखेंगे और आगे अपना फ्यूचर बना सकेंगे, जैसे हर एक बच्चे का ख्वाब होता है। लेकिन ऐसा मुमकिन नहीं हो पाता था। वो ना तो हायर एजुकेशन के लिए आगे जा पाते थे, ना तो वो किसी जॉब के लिए जा पाते थे। अगर ग्रेजुएटेड भी हो जाते थे, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएटेड भी हो जाते थे, तो सिर्फ़ और सिर्फ उनको जेएमसी में सिर्फ म्यूनसिपैलिटी का काम ही करना पड़ता था, वो भी स्वीपर का, कोई अच्छी पोस्ट के लिए नहीं। तो ये बहुत ही दुख वाली बात है कि ऐसा जो है वो हो पाया। लेकिन हमें खुशी की बात है कि हमारी बात आगे पहुंची, मोदी जी ने ये मुमकिन कर पाया, और इस आर्टिकल को, ये जो काला कानून था, इसको हटाकर जो है हमें सभी अधिकारों के लिए आगे बढ़ाया।
अब आप क्या कर रही हैं? आज वोट डाल दिया है पहली बार आपने भी?
जी, मैं फ़र्स्ट टाइम वोटर हूँ, क्योंकि पहले तो हमारे समाज को कोई अधिकार ही नहीं था, ना तो राइट टू वोट था, ना कोई और अधिकार था। तो ये पहली बार मुमकिन हो पाया है कि मैं और मेरे साथ जो हमारे समाज के लोग हैं वो वोट कर पा रहे हैं। तो मैं फ़र्स्ट टाइम वोटर हूँ।
तो अभी क्या एडमिशन मिल गया आपको?
जी, मैं एडमिशन ले लिया है मैंने BA LLB में।
Just imagine, for last many years they were not able to basically use their right, they were not able to cast the vote, and that's why they are saying that now after the abrogation of 370 they got this right, and the people in large number of especially they are coming to the polling station and they are casting their vote. This is something that has changed their life as well, because just imagine that though they were not having right to cast their vote, they were not having to get admission in the professional colleges and the universities, and now they have they got every right. So these are the pictures from the ground zero. Long queues of the people can be seen over here, and people, they are saying that this is something which will change, not only change their area, but also help them to grow up with rest of the country. And similar kind of lines has been absorbed in different polling station in the different districts of the Jammu and Kashmir. 4 districts are under polling today. If you talk about the Jammu, Samba, Kathua and the Udhampur constituency, where 24 constituencies of the Jammu and Kashmir, they are going for the polling, whereas 16 constituencies in the Kashmir region, North Kashmir, they are observing polling.
Okay. I will come back to you, Ajay, and I have my colleague Reet also with us. But before we go across to Reet, Ashik, I see some women behind you who've come to cast their vote. I will come to you in just a moment, Ashik, if we can try to speak to some women voters this morning as well. But let me now come back across to our studios where my colleague Reet Sani joins us with some of the early numbers trickling in. Reet, over to you.
Right, absolutely, Devika. As you all are well aware, elections are well underway in Jammu and Kashmir. These, of course, comes after a hiatus of 10 long years. Like our colleague just mentioned, about 16 seats in the Kashmir Valley are sort of going to the elections, as well as 24 seats in the Jammu and Kashmir will be seeing elections. We have 450 candidates across 40 constituencies with about 20,000 polling staff employed at the booth. Let's now try and understand what the electoral competition in these constituencies has been like over the years. So over here on our screen is the Kupwara constituency, where we saw Nasir Aslam Wani of the JKNC, Sajid Ghani Lone of the JKPC, as well as Mir Mohammad Fayaz of the JKPDP, who are contesting against each other in the elections that are taking place this morning. It's extremely important to understand how there is polling that's being taken place across 40 constituencies. In 2024 in Sopore, we had Haji Abdul Rashid of the INC, we have Irshad Rasul Kar of the JKNC, as well as Irfan Ali Lone of the JKPDP contesting against each other, showing us a threefold competition. In 2014, of course, in Sopore, Abdul Rashid Dar emerged as the winner against Nasir Ahmed Naiku, who was, of course, of the JKPC. He won by a margin of about 2,755 votes, as you can see on your screens. He got about 26.33% of the total votes polled. Now, going on to the last 5 elections in Sopore, as you can see on your screens, the INC won, as well, after which it was the JKNC, followed by the INC and the JKNC, followed by the JKNC again, which you can see that the INC as well as the JKNC have a strong hold in this constituency. Talking about the caste breakup of Sopore, Sopore has about 0.14 of scheduled castes and about 0.33% of scheduled tribes, with 16.7% Hindus, 24.6% Muslims, as well as 15.5% Christians residing in this constituency. Moving on to other constituencies, Uri. In Uri, this time Dr. Sajid Shafi of the JKPDP is contesting against Sheikh Munib of the JKNC. Of course, it's a competition between the JKPDP and the JKNC. In 2014, the Muhammad Shafi contested against Ejaz Ali Khan, where Muhammad Shafi won with a margin of 5,792 votes, constituting about 39.25% of the total votes polled. Moving on to other constituencies in Uri. Talking about the last 5 elections, it was the JKNC followed by the INC and followed by 3 terms of the JKNC. The caste breakup of the Uri constituency is of this sort, where the scheduled caste constitute about 0.71% of the total population and the STs constitute about 18.1% of the total population. Talking about the religious breakup, it sees about 39.4% of Hindus, 50% Muslims, as well as 0.6% Christians, showing that Muslims are Islam is the key religion practiced in this constituency. Moving on to other constituencies, Baramulla, where we seeing a threefold contest between Mir Iqbal of the INC, Javed Hussain Beg of the JKNC, as well as Mohammad Rafiq Rathir of the JKPDP. Now, let's also understand what the political competition has been in this constituency. In 2014, Javed Hussain Beg, who in fact is contesting again, won against GH Hussain Rahi. He won by a margin of about 7,017 votes. Viewers, that's a very big margin. Talking about the last 5 elections, the JKPDP has ruled for 3 consecutive terms, followed by the JKNC for 2 consecutive terms. The caste breakup is such where we can see the scheduled caste constitute about 0.1% of the population, as well as the scheduled tribes constitute about 2.9% of the population. And the religious breakup looks of this sort, where there are 3% of Hindus, 90% Muslims, as well as 0.1% of Christians in this constituency.
Reet, thank you so much for taking us through some of those crucial data points. We will, of course, keep coming back to my colleague Reet over the course of the day to understand what are the crucial contests in some of the other parts. But I want to open up this conversation to the guests who are joining us this morning. I have Jasmine Sandhyabala of the BJP, Shreya Handu of the JKNC, Dr. Pooja Tripathi of the Congress, Utpal Kaul historian joining us on the broadcast, Major A.K. Sivach also with us, and I have Amit Rana, author and activist, also with us on the broadcast. Let me begin this conversation with Shreya Handu of the JKNC. Shreya Handu, what really has the NC done in the past 5 years to really convince the people of Jammu and Kashmir that it deserves to be in power once again?
Today is the phase 3 of the elections with 40 constituencies, 24 in Jammu and 16 in Kashmir. We have a total of 415 candidates. Well, based on the ground reports from the last 2 phases, we're very optimistic for the third phase, final phase. This is going to be our final push. In the last 5 years, we've been very vocal towards our people's rights. And I think we are one of the only parties who has without fail spoken for the people. And I think this will reflect in the coming results on the 8th of October.
Okay. Shreya Handu, if you can perhaps just shed some light on what really the JKNC has done in the past 5 years. What are your promises to the people? Okay, we seem to have suddenly lost that line with Shreya Handu as soon as I asked about the promises that the JKNC has made. But let me bring in their coalition partner, Dr. Pooja Tripathi of the Congress, into the conversation. Dr. Pooja Tripathi, what really has been the Congress's plan of action as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned? We saw a little bit of friction with the NC as well, with Omar Abdullah saying that Rahul Gandhi must focus on the Jammu region and not so much on Kashmir. How exactly do you feel the people on the ground will be reading this situation, where on the one hand, yes, you're allies, but on some seats you want a friendly contest, and then you have Omar Abdullah also coming out and speaking a little bit against Rahul Gandhi? How do you feel that the people are going to read this situation?
I don't think, Devika, that he spoke against Rahul Gandhi. This is an alliance part. We are alliance partners, and everybody has a formidable presence. If we talk about a national conference, they have a formidable presence in JNK, and Congress is a national party. It's a democracy, and everybody is free to voice their opinion. And we don't work in a fascist way. So everybody is welcome. Everybody may criticize our leadership, and they are more than welcome. As far as the agenda for the elections, today is the third phase of elections, and we have just started on NewsX. I would request every young voter, women, to come out in large numbers and vote. But what we have brought to, what promises, what manifesto promises we have brought to the people of JNK is restoration of statehood. Restoration of statehood is something nobody wants to compromise on, and it's not just political parties. The people of JNK who have been echoing the same demands. Yesterday, not far away from JNK is the Union Territory of Ladakh, and Sonam Wangchuk has been on hunger strike since last so many months, and he has been on a Padyatra to pay homage to Bapu at Rajghat on 2nd October. And the biggest irony is, while the whole Bharatiya Janata Party and the central government leadership claims that everything is a la la land after the abrogation of Article 370, they have not yet met Sonam Wangchuk and 120 Ladakhis, including some 43 army veterans also in that Padyatra. They were elderly and their women, and they've been detained at Singhu border. And this, Gandhi echoed the feeling, Gandhi was the poster boy of peace, non-violence, and Satyagraha, and one who has been following this Gandhi's path has been detained in Singhu border, and before, on the day of the third phase of voting of JNK, and the irony would have died 1,000 deaths. Coming on to the agenda, we are saying that you have to take accountability. Post 4th June, there have been 18 terror attacks in the area of JNK. The whole theatre of terror attacks have shifted from Jammu and Kashmir, which saw lull in last 10 years, which never saw terror attacks. And this is something that government should take accountability of. There have been killing of 20 officers and 14 civilians, which government should take accountability of, and government hasn't said a word. The absurd display of power, the absurd extension of power to the Lieutenant Governor of JNK is something that's been worrying not only political parties, not only the opposing parties, but also the people of JNK. The JNK Assembly can't make laws on public order, police, transfer and posting of officials, the state legislature, education, marriage, taxes, property and forest, and this is something that's worrying the people of JNK. And coming back to the major issue, 25% unemployment is every third youth in JNK is unemployed, and this is something that the people will vote in JNK elections on the issues of unemployment, because they haven't got anything. The rampant corruption that's been witnessed in all the departments, the aberrant electricity, the power cuts, this issue of smart meters, the erratic water supply, there are issues and issues.
Okay. Three issues raised there for the BJP. I want to bring Jasmine Sandhyawala into the conversation. Jasmine Sandhyawala, you've heard what Pooja Tripathi of the Congress has had to say. Issue number one is unemployment, rampant unemployment. Another issue that has been raised is a continuity of corruption, even though there is no government in power at the moment, but there are allegations of a continuity of corruption. And of course, point number three, and one of the most valid topics of discussion as far as JNK is concerned, is also some amount of terrorism which continues within the valley, and now of course we've also seen in the recent past in Jammu region as well. On these three accounts, how does the BJP respond?
Well, the BJP has a very clear nationalist policy, and that was the abrogation of 370 article. And while the opposition keeps accusing us that we harp on it and say that this is our biggest feather, we always say that this is our biggest feather. It is because of the 370 articles abrogation that peace and stability is limping back to Jammu and Kashmir. We have to consider and keep the scenario in mind that since 1947, Jammu and Kashmir was an area which was festering and bleeding constantly. And it was a very, very fragile, constant area of India. And we had a hostile nation parked right next to us, Pakistan. And we have had, unfortunately, 3 wars with them. And they do play a proxy war with us constantly. And any central government, even when Congress was in power, Mr. Manmohan Singh or Rajiv Gandhi or Indira Gandhi or Mr. Nehru, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru, every prime minister had major concerns and issues. It was something which was always festering India. And we have to keep that in mind, that because Jammu and Kashmir had no stability for over 7 decades, the developmental issue, people suffered, people were killed, people were butchered. This is not any other state, but this is Jammu Kashmir, and we need to perceive it in a different way. The prism and spectrum of looking at this has to be different. And BJP, when the Congress spokesperson said that the employment is 25%, I would like to correct her. It is rather 27%, which is very, very alarming. And BJP must have failed many times in the last 5 years. But we also want to say that we did rise up, not like the other parties. We were not a party which was family oriented. What did the Abdullahs do? They were the longest reigning people in Jammu and Kashmir. What did Muftis do? So unfortunately for Jammu and Kashmir, it was a legacy of families which were ruling. And when you talk about corruption, the third issue is corruption. Now, Kashmir, unfortunately, you see, the central governments can give economic packages for development of a particular state of Jammu and Kashmir. The economic packages have been repeatedly given. Keep considering that there is huge unemployment and development is not taking at a level, because no new industry, because of the non-stability in the state, is coming up. Now, what happens is that when there is turmoil, which happened in Punjab also, that the bureaucracy becomes bigger. It plays a larger role than elected political politicians, while politicians are accountable to people after every 5 years or after whenever they have to face the elections. A bureaucrat is a bureaucrat once he passes the UPSC exam and he can rule. So we are not washing off our hands and saying that there is no corruption. There is corruption in Jammu and Kashmir. We admit that.
Okay, Jasmine Sandhyawala, Jitendra Singh speaking there. I'll come to you in just a moment.
तो उन्होंने एक संशोधन लाया था संविधान में, अमेंडमेंट, जिसके तहत विधानसभाओं और लोकसभा का कार्यकाल 5 वर्ष से बढ़ा करके 6 वर्ष कर दिया गया। यहाँ पर उस समय नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस की सरकार थी, कांग्रेस के समर्थन से उनको ये अधिकार था कि वो सेंट्रल लॉ को अपनाएं कि ना अपनाएं, लेकिन उसे तुरंत अपना लिया गया। और उसके 3 वर्ष के बाद जब मोरारजी भाई पुनः मोरारजी भाई प्रधानमंत्री बनते हैं, जनता सरकार बनती है जनता पार्टी की, तो उसे संशोधन को वापस मोड़ लिया गया और पुनः 6 बरस का कार्यकाल 5 बरस हुआ। अब देखिए दूसरी मर्तबा नेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंस भी वही थी, सत्ताधारी पार्टी भी वही थी, मुख्यधारा भी, मुख्यमंत्री भी वही थे, लेकिन तब उन्हें 370 याद आ गया और 370 की आड़ लेकर के उन्होंने उस केंद्रीय कानून को नहीं अपनाया और 6 बरस, और इसलिए हमारा ये मानना है कि अनुच्छेद 370 का दुरुपयोग उन लोगों के द्वारा किया गया जो अपने वंशवाद की राजनीति स्वार्थ का पालन करते थे और आम आदमी को उससे कोई लाभ नहीं पहुंचा। और ये जो आज 5 बरस के लिए विधानसभा का चुनाव हो रहा है, ये भी उसी का एक संकेत है।
पहली बार मुद्दे क्या लग रहे हैं, डिसाइसिव कौन से मुद्दे होंगे?
सबसे पहली बात तो ये कि जैसे आपने कहा कि 10 बरस से अगर चुनाव नहीं होता तो एक कड़ी है जो छूट जाती है आम जनता के साथ, क्योंकि ये मल्टी टीयर सिस्टम है और उसमें भी मोदी सरकार को ही शय जाता है, मोदी जी को ही जाता है। पहली बार इन्हीं 10 साल के अंतराल में यहाँ जिला परिषदों का गठन हुआ जो पहले नहीं हुआ करता था, वो भी एक विश्लेषण का विषय रहेगा कि क्यों। इसी तरह 73 और 74 संशोधन पंचायत एक्ट का भी इन्हीं 10 वर्षों में लागू किया गया, जिसके तहत केंद्र की राशि सीधी चुने हुए प्रतिनिधियों तक पहुंचती है, पंचों सरपंचों काउंसिलर्स तक, वरना वो सीधी मुख्यमंत्री के तिजोरी में जाती थी। यानी ग्रास रूट डेमोक्रेसी का भी यहाँ पर जो चलन है इन्हीं 10 वर्षों में हुआ है। और ये जब मल्टी टीयर कड़ी बनती है तो जिसे मोदी जी कहते हैं डबल इंजन, तो उससे प्रगति की रफ्तार भी बढ़ती है और लोगों को भी एक तरह का अपने प्रतिनिधियों के साथ ज्यादा नजदीक से संवाद करने का अवसर रहता है, क्योंकि हर जगह एमपी नहीं पहुंच सकता, हर जगह दूसरे प्रतिनिधि नहीं पहुंच सकते। तो ये मुझे लगता है कि एक बहुत ही सेहतमंद दृश्य आप देख रहे हैं आज जम्मू कश्मीर में, और ये जो दृश्य है सारे जम्मू कश्मीर में बिल्कुल उसी तरह जैसे भारत के किसी और प्रदेश में चुनाव के समय
नसरुल्लाह की मौत को लेकर कश्मीर घाटी में जिस तरीके से एक दोबारा से कहीं ना कहीं उत्पाद बताने की कोशिश जो है वो की जा रही है।
नहीं, सबसे पहले तो आपको इस बात की सराहना करनी होगी कि पहली बार ऐसा चुनाव हो रहा है 30-35 वर्ष के बाद, ना कोई पाकिस्तान से इस्लामाबाद से हड़ताल की कॉल हुई, ना कोई यहाँ से किसी अलगाववादी दल ने बाइकॉट की कॉल दी, और ना ही 8-10% मतदान हुआ जैसे पहले हुआ करता था। आप देखिए चुनाव के दौरान कोई अलगाववादी नारा नहीं लगा। इसका मतलब तभी मैंने कहा कि सही माने में जम्मू कश्मीर का लोकतंत्र भारत की मुख्य धारा के साथ जुड़ता हुआ नजर आ रहा है।
सर लोगों से क्या अपील करेंगे? लोगों से क्या अपील करेंगे?
सर वेस्ट पाकिस्तानी रिफ्यूजी और
निश्चय ही आपने ठीक कहा, बहुत ही सेहतमंद बात है। मुझे लगता है कि विश्व में एक मात्र ऐसी मिसाल थी जहाँ के 60-70 वर्ष तक समाज के एक वर्ग को उनके नागरिक अधिकारों से भी वंचित रखा गया, उनके वोट के अधिकार से भी वंचित रखा गया। आज तो 21वीं सदी में यदि आप किसी दूसरे देश में भी जाकर के बस जाएं तो 10-15 वर्ष में वहां की भी नागरिकता मिल जाती है। और ये वो वर्ग है जिसने हिंदुस्तान को 2 प्रधानमंत्री दिए, डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह जो जेलम पाकिस्तान से आए थे, श्री आई.के. गुजराल जो गवर्नमेंट कॉलेज लाहौर से आए थे वहां से ग्रेजुएट करके, यानी अगर लेकिन यहाँ जो आकर के बस गए उसी तबके के लोग, उसी वर्ग के लोग, उन्हें वंचित किया गया क्योंकि कांग्रेस और उनके सहयोगी दलों को लगता था कि ये उनके वोट बैंक का हिस्सा नहीं है। और मैं फिर कहूँगा ये एक और मिसाल है 35 और 370 के दुरुपयोग की कि इन्हें उन अधिकारों से वंचित रखा गया। पहली बार ये विडंबना समाप्त हुई है मोदी जी के आने के बाद। Yeah, not only that, I think it's also more of the vote bank politics, because all these refugees who came from Pakistan were not very favorably disposed towards the Congress party. They always had this mind and they always held Congress party responsible for the partition. Partition was one of the biggest miscarriages of history in the recent past, or in the last half a century or so. And they always attributed the partition to the personal ambition of Jawaharlal Nehru and Jinnah. And therefore, when they came and settled down over here, in the garb of, in the LAB, using the LAB of 35A and 370, they were kept away.
Speaking after casting his vote in Jammu and Kashmir, I want to, Jasmine Sannewala, quickly, last minute to you, then I want to bring in our other panelists as well.
You know, I was hearing the last spokesperson. He said that the refugees who came from Pakistan were never treated by the Congress as their vote bank. and they were a kind of a very insignificant. They kind of played a very insignificant, and the political space that was given to them was very limited by the Congress. I come from a family which migrated from Pakistan, and we've always faced that. And that trauma has always lingered with us, that it was the personal ambitions of the Nehru family and the Gandhi family that led to the partition, which was the saddest thing which happened to the subcontinent. And now this is the first time in the last decade that people are lining up, and the refugees who always thought marginalized are. I was in Araspura recently, and I saw the enthusiasm in the Sikh voters, in the refugee voters, that how they wanted to be heard, and they wanted to exercise their franchise right. So I would say that this is first election after the independence of India and after the electoral history of India started happening, that Jammu and Kashmir is going to vote, and this is going to be a historic election because they are going to select somebody that they want to, and it is not going to be imposed on them. And we are looking forward to the results, which will be a surprise on the 8th of October. People of Jammu and Kashmir are very mature. They have suffered a lot, and I end my case on that to give you a chance.
Okay, I want to bring in Major General A.K. Sivach into the conversation as well. Major General A.K. Sivach, as far as the question of security and terrorism is concerned, your thoughts, sir, as far as abrogation of 370 has to be discussed. Did the BJP deliver on its promise of reduction in terrorism?
No. See, as far as the Kashmir Valley is concerned, there is a lot of reduction in terrorism. There's hardly about 50 to 60 residual terrorists left in Kashmir Valley of Lashkar-e-Toba, Jaise Mohammed and Hizbul Mujahideen. In fact, their top leadership has been totally eliminated. They are short of funds, they don't have weapons, ammunition. But then one has to also understand that this center of gravity of terrorism slightly has shifted from Kashmir Valley now south of Pir Punjab. But once we talk about Kashmir Valley, I can say with a lot of conviction that after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, lot of change in Kashmir Valley. There is a lot of development taking place. Tourism has been on the record time. There have been a grassroots level democracy in form of panchayat election, district development council election, and this stone throwing incidents have almost become zero now. There are no strikes which take place. Radicalization, of course, is still taking place in South Kashmir, but it has reduced considerably. And there is the cottage industry doing well, a hotel industry doing well. And so therefore, one can say with a lot of, pride that lot has changed as far as Kashmir Valley is concerned. The situation seemingly looks to be totally normal. The election result itself, the election where it has taken place in phase 1 and phase 2, there have been election almost about 60%. So that's a very, very positive sign. However, when we talk about south of Pir Punjab, there have been a spurt of militant activity in last about 6 months. That is basically because, this area was totally peaceful. The troops were moved from here in eastern Ladakh, and also our intelligence grade of the police was disturbed, and the RR counter-terrorism grade also was disturbed. So Pakistan has made use of that situation, and their K2 task is functioning. That is Khalistan and Kashmir. So they managed to, I suppose, infiltrate about 50 to 60 terrorists in last about 6 months to 1 year, and that is maybe through the IB sector. But certainly, because this area suits them for operation, because this is densely forested, it has basically got natural cave, also some sleeper cell and OGW helping them out, and they have changed their tactics of basically hit and run, guerrilla tactics. But certainly, in last about a month and two, the operation conducted by the security forces show that we are regaining that initiative which we slightly seeming to have lost, and it's a matter of time, say another about 6 months or so, all these terrorists which have managed to infiltrate will be eliminated. The government is going along with a 3-pronged strategy. One is that you seal the border. The counter-infiltration grid should be very, very stable. not only on the line of control, also on the IP sector, especially Jammu and the area going toward Punjab, Samba, Katwa and all. And at the same time, ensure that counter-terrorism grade also become very, very capable, and you eliminate the terrorists over a period of time. I think government is going in a right direction, and I can only say that the situation in Jammu Kashmir is far, far better than what it was 10 years back. At least Kashmir Valley seems to be totally peaceful. The way the elections have taken place, it is a matter of pride for all of us as Indians. We can say that almost 60% were the voting, and the third phase, I'm sure, will go equally good.
Okay, I want to bring in Amit Raina, Utpal Kaul into the conversation as well. Amit Raina, question to you first. What are you picking up as far as your conversations with people on the ground are concerned? What really is the mood of the hour?
No, I think there is a considerable amount of expectations from the government that is going to be formed. And for me, I think the personal, what I think has the best that has happened because of this election process is the number of independent candidates that are out there in the fray. They are out to challenge the traditional regional parties of Jammu and Kashmir, because those traditional regional parties of Jammu and Kashmir have not moved beyond 370, 35A, autonomy and all that nonsense. So people are now willing to come and take care of their destiny. They are willing to fight elections and ensure that if the current political dispensation is not able to deliver to their aspirations, they are willing to step forward and take control of the charge. So for me, that is a very, very important thing that these elections have thrown up. Apart from that, I just heard what Rahul Gandhi, what Omar Abdullah said, that let Rahul Gandhi focus on Jammu region and not on Kashmir region. A political party which once swept all 75 assembly seats in Jammu and Kashmir is today afraid. Today is afraid of its political survival. They are out battling in Kashmir and they are not even bothered about Jammu, क्योंकि आज उनका अस्तित्व जम्मू में भी तो खतरे में ही है, कश्मीर में भी खतरे में ही है. So this clearly shows how things have changed in Jammu and Kashmir. What is more important and interesting is that almost 500,000 people have been added to the electoral roll. For 70 years, you deprived the people of West Pakistan from being part of the electoral system. They could not participate in the assembly elections. They could not participate join the government jobs. They could not take the benefit of the state. I think that will also add to it. Plus, as I have been saying, and in the last 2 months, this is not an election that is happening after 10 years. This is an election which is happening after 35 years. After 35 years, you are seeing an election where there is no fear of gun, where there is no boycott, there is no Pakistani threat. People are coming out in large numbers and participating in the biggest festival of democracy. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this entire election.
Okay, I want to quickly listen into Kavinder Gupta, who's speaking at this point in time. Then we'll go across to Utpal Kaul as well. Listen in.
मान देख करके जाएं और उनकी जो आने वाली पीढ़ियां हैं वो भी देखें कि कांग्रेस ने इस देश का क्या हाल किया था और भाजपा ने कहां तक पहुंचाया है.
वहीं सर जो नसरुल्लाह जो मारे गए हैं, हिजबुल्लाह के जो लीडर थे, उस पे महबूबा मुफ्ती ने अपनी कैंपेनिंग बंद कर दी, वो भी एक इशू रहा. उस पर क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, ये उनका विषय हो सकता है. लोगों के लिए क्या था वो अलग बात है, लेकिन ये अब कोई नए पैंतरे बदल करके महबूबा और उमर अब्दुल्ला दोनों इस चीज को क्या जताना चाहते हैं. पहले भी जो लोकसभा में इनकी हार हुई है, अब कुछ चाहते हैं कि कुछ ट्रेंड कोई ऐसा सेट करें जिससे कि लोग इनके हित में जाएं, लेकिन ऐसा पॉसिबल लगता नहीं. लोगों ने लोकतंत्र के प्रति आस्था प्रकट करके विकास के हित में वोट करना है.
वहीं से कांग्रेस ने स्टेट.
Right, so there you heard it. I want to bring Utpal Kaul into the back into the conversation as well. Utpal Kaul, your assessment as far as the ground situation, the ground pulse is concerned.
Thank you very much for this wonderful, very important discussion. Let me tell you that I know what happened for last 36 years, I say from 88, 89. And as Amit Raina said, that how the gun played, terrorism played part in whole of Kashmir. And now after 35, 36 years, all these people who were actively participating in terrorism, like Jamaat Islamia and other parties, now they are banned, but still they have independent candidates in more than 20 constituencies. Engineer Rashid, he has more than 20 candidates. So there is a threat to regional parties like National Conference has a big challenge, but PDP will be almost wiped out. Maybe they have 1 or 2 seats. Biggest beneficiary will be Bharatiya Janata Party. I think Bharatiya Janata Party will touch near anything between 28 to 32 seats in Jammu region. Maybe they get 1 or 2 seats even in the valley. Biggest debate, and the voters are choosing this time in Jammu province a chief minister from Jammu, because for last 75 years there has been always chief minister from Kashmir. So it is a big debate that why not this time there will be a chief minister from Jammu and Kashmir. And last time they had around about 28 seats. I think the BJP will be number 1 party, then will be National Conference, and Congress will have very few seats. PDP may 1 or 2 seats, but some independents like Engineer Rashid's 20 candidates, maybe they get some seats, and Jamaat Islamia, they will have some kind of balancing factor. But it is a very, very interesting election, and for the first time after abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, and all these parties, regional parties and International Congress ones, when they say that we will get it back, it is absolutely bunkum. So they are just lying to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. People of Jammu and Kashmir has seen first time such a development. 90,000 crore were spent and is invested in different regions and in different segments. Like there was no IIT, there was no Indian Institute of Medical Sciences in Kashmir, in Jammu. A lot of colleges, hospitals and highways. So tourism has developed so much that for the first time after decades, there were like 28 million people came to Jammu and Kashmir, and 28 lakh came only in the valley of Kashmir. That was the biggest number for last 35-36 years. And when some people say there is no development, there is unemployment, that is all over India, because rapid population increase is a big question in all over India. So that touches Jammu and Kashmir also. Okay. But if Modi government is fighting election on the play of development, that we develop Jammu and Kashmir. Yes. And if you travel ground level, I was just in Baramulla district, I was in Kupwara, I was in border district, in South Kashmir, in North Kashmir. I can see, because I am a Kashmiri, I know, I have seen roads, I have seen what development. You can see if you go from Baramulla, Sopore and come to Srinagar, it is like a London. You have houses like in London and Paris. Such is the development in Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay, I want to bring Dr. Pooja Tripathi and Shreya Handu back in the conversation. Pooja Tripathi, I'd like to just understand from you, as far as the promise of restoration of Article 370 is concerned, how does the Congress party plan on backing the NC on this?
Congress has a different manifesto and NC. They are politically two different parties. They're an alliance. We don't have a common minimum program. So I'll prefer that you ask this question from the National Conference spokesperson, because our manifesto, our promises are very clear. We want a statehood for J&K. We want the 2 lakh.
But Pooja Tripathi, if you were to come to power in an alliance and the NC has vociferously, the NC has vociferously said that they will work towards the restoration of Article 370. I just want to understand how the dynamics of that then work out, right? Because at the end of the day, you are alliance partners, so I'm sure that the Congress party does have a plan of action or a thought process in place on the same.
We are the alliance partners, Devika, but we have two separate manifestos, and every party is independent to bring out a manifesto. We don't have a common minimum program yet with National Conference, as what the Bharatiya Janata Party had with PDP in 2009. We don't have it. So after the results, we may have a common minimum program, and that way we figure out what to ahead. But right now, our manifesto is clear, and it's the demand of full statehood to JNK.
And that's it. That's where the demand ends for the Congress party right now. There's no thought on Article 370.
That's what I'm trying to explain you. We are two different parties. And that's where every party has its own manifesto, has its own promises. And we don't have a common
No, you are not contesting all 90 seats.
Okay.
Pooja ji.
Yeah, pre-poll alliance, but we don't have
It's a pre-poll alliance.
PDP had it as with BJP in 2009.
Pooja ji, this is a pre-poll alliance.
It's not a post-poll alliance.
Promises
This is a pre-poll alliance, Pooja
Yes,
ji.
exactly. This
The
is where
PDP BJP alliance was a poll alliance. If NC tomorrow says they want autonomy pre-1965 status, what will you do?
And we have
So
brought
you are
out
fooling the people of Jammu and Kashmir today.
this question should be directed to the National Conference spokesperson.
Yes, okay, let me raise it to the National Conference then. Shreya Handu, how does the National Conference, what is the way forward? What is your thought process? How will you go about convincing the Congress party that they need to back you on your promise of Article 370, which you say that you will be taking the legal route, you will be knocking the doors of the Supreme Court once again?
See, as I've mentioned before also, and as our party has mentioned many times, and as it is evident that in the last 5 years we have focused on advocating for the restoration of 370. We have been vocal about reclaiming the statehood as well. But as everybody keeps on saying over and over again, it's impossible to bring it back. It is not impossible. We have never said that we are going to bring back 370 tomorrow. 8th of October will be the results and 9th 370 will be back. We've always said that we will keep fighting for it. Legally bringing back 370 would require a constitutional amendment passed by two-thirds majority in both houses of Indian Parliament. And ruling from the Supreme Court has given a little bit of complexity to it. But when we have that kind of a environment created with preferably a government in the center that listens to us, unlike what is happening to us right now, we are hopeful that this will happen. Our first priority right now is bringing back the statehood as soon as the elections end.
Okay, and 370, as you said, can only happen in a
Can I comment
centrally
later on
government
this?
conducive environment. I'll come to you, Amit Rana. I just want to get a clarification that you're basically basing your bets on not just the Supreme Court, but also having a central government environment which is conducive, right? That's what you've just said.
Exactly.
So you're essentially waiting for the BJP to go out of power from the center as well.
Haven't we already been doing that? Isn't that evident?
Yes, I'm just trying to get a clarification there, ma'am.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so all of this depends on the next general election. Essentially, depends on the next general election. Amit Rana, come into the conversation.
No, I just want to understand from the National Conference spokesperson, they have been going all gongo saying that we will take the legal route to get back 370. One doesn't need to be in power to approach Supreme Court. This is a new development I'm hearing. This is the first time I'm hearing that you need to be in power. So if you want Article 370 to be restored back, let me complete, Shreya. Let me complete, you can answer. Let me complete, you can answer.
If it is legally incorrect, then I have to intervene.
Ma'am, let me complete, you can answer. You can put your point. I'm not saying. So you don't need to be in power to approach Supreme Court. Supreme Court has already dismissed the review petition on the same. Now the only thing probably left is the curative petition. You can even try that. So as of now, the 5-bench court has sealed the fate of Article 370. If you still want to take your legal, if you still want to fight for your legal options, you are most welcome to do. You do not to be in power. The problem is you are lying to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. कि जैसे हम सरकार में आएंगे हम 370 वापस लाएंगे. अरे आप तो एक glorified municipality, आपकी औकात है क्या? Does the Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir even have a power to ask for a statehood for the 370? So you have been lying to the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Instead of talking about development, instead of talking about things you can do, you have been putting up points which are impossible to achieve.
Amit Rana, you've made your point. You believe that the JKNC, PDP are all lying to the people because if they wanted to go to the courts, they could go to the courts right now. I'm going to give Shreya Handu a chance to respond to that.
Can I say something, please,
Yes.
quickly? Thank you. We have been in the court. He just mentioned, Mr. Rena just mentioned that the Supreme Court did this and that to the 370. How did we reach there? We went to the court when we were not in the power, sir. For the last 10 years, we have not been in power, but we have been very, very vocal about 370. And just for the record, 370 was not something that we introduced as a party. It was the Maharaja's vision. I don't understand why is it made like a...
No, Maharaja never...
No, it was not Maharaja's vision. It was not Maharaja's vision. It was Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah. It was Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah.
One by one, please. One by one, please. One by one,
Not
please.
Maharaja's vision.
Okay, Utpal call. Was it the Maharaja's vision? 370.
No. I can tell you.
Can I please complete?
Maharaja, excuse me. Let me say something. Maharaja has no role in Article 370. It was Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah. He went to Ambedkar. Ambedkar said, no, nothing doing in our constitution. We will not give this kind of special status where there will be Article 370 and 35A. He was sent back and he was so rude to Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah. It is written by Ambedkar. And then he went to Nehru. And Nehru was... He gave such stories, and it was Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah who did it, and it had a separatist mentality, and what Patel said in the parliament that one day it will definitely go. Kis kar ye jayega, and what Narendra Modi did, he did not. इसको घिसाया नहीं, इसको एकदम से खत्म कर दिया because it smells separatism. And it is because of this that the terrorism started in Kashmir. So Article 370 is not needed in Jammu and Kashmir. It is these political parties, those who have soft terrorism and separatism in their mind, they tell these lies to the people of Jammu and Kashmir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, that's all the time that I have. I have to address some breaking news. I thank all of our panelists for joining us to take that conversation forward, but we have some urgent breaking news coming in. Amid